Okay, we are now back with the men's race, 9.5 miles in. So remember, times 1.6, and we can convert that to kilometres. So we're about 16 kilometres in from 39. And we are looking at the front now. They are racing very quickly. These segments are absolutely red hot tonight. And based on the fact that it is also strung out, there is no blobbing going on. There isn't a great draft effect the whole way through. Everybody is going a little bit for their lives, but Ben Hill is sitting comfortably in there. Matt Ross, these are the names that are all looking very comfortable so far. And we'll get Anna back in a second. Sometimes this technology, honestly, a lot of people on the internet through these lockdowns. But these sprints have been interesting because it does really show the different strategies that teams are looking at. We've got Pesky on the attack now, some pretty high watts per kg. There is nothing imminently in terms of point scoring. So this is just a fortuitous attack. And Anna, he's opened a gap reasonably quickly to a couple of seconds, but until we see that open up to around the 5 to 10 second mark, there's not too much to be concerned about.
Yeah, I do. I have seen the strategy a bit. I actually saw it a lot in the Prem Division men earlier today, as these attacks off the front kind of not really in any strategic places, I would say. I'm not sure on why you would do this because the pack will catch this rider absolutely because the pack is going very, very fast. It's very hard to break away in Zwift. I mean, I like people putting it all out there, but I'd be trying to do this like we saw on lap one in the women's race, maybe doing it a little bit closer to the sprint so you can actually get a payoff by having the first across line. Because this rider is going at 5.2 watts a kg, which is okay. But looking at some of the riders in this field, I mean, people have got 20-minute powers of 5.7, 5.8. Sam Hill's 6.8 watts a kg. I mean, it's not hard for them to catch this rider. Maybe he just wanted a little bit of screen time.
It could be. Unfortunately, he's going through that pack like a lead sinker, and if he doesn't hustle up, he's going to go straight out the back there. But look at this. Just from the jerseys, we can see that Aero are really starting to group and organise up the front, and some bumblebee colours there from the WMZ crew. So this is when you can see this kind of view, and you can see these teams really starting to get together. You know that they are kind of planning something. Little sneaky comment from Mark O'Brien there. I'm Mark Cab. Looking for a sprint tonight, indeed.
Oh,
Or does
wow.
that mean
And
he's got a bit of attitude? I don't know.
maybe. Who knows? There's funny comments going on all over the show I've seen. But looking at Velokicks, he's kicked off here. There's some weird timing on the sprint. Everyone dropped their drafting power up so early. A few of these are going to run out, like you can see before they hit the line, well before they hit the line. Looks like Ben Hill, though, has timed that to perfection. Come across in that bike setup I was talking about earlier. Absolutely the fastest one for this course. Not sure why anyone would be riding the Tron unless they just don't have the drops to get that bike. But yeah, this is head over to Zwift Insider because unless you check that out, you may not have realized that the Tron is not the fastest bike in game. Thank God, because I was sick of seeing Trons everywhere. And now we're seeing people picking out some great little bike selections. So I love it. I absolutely love it.
Well, last week it was Tron, Tron, Tron. Everywhere you look down. At Ben Hill, it looks like he took that sprint point out. You mentioned him earlier. He was on fire last week. So not surprising to see him out there and taking some points early. As we mentioned, it's not all about that final sprint. So he's still sitting in second behind Torben Partridge Madsen. We might need to just update that one. Matt Ross in third. Let's take a look at the women now. They're a little bit deeper into their race now, Anna.
Oh,
20.4
Justin
kilometres
Barrow.
into the 38. But look at this. Barrow Banerjee and Lisa Jacob. This is quite a combination.
They've attacked right where I think is a perfect place to attack to. It looks like they may have gone right after that sprint up the climb. I think they could have counted over that sprint. I think that's a great tactic because people will burn some matches and after the sprint just kind of chill out a little bit, and then you, boom, attack over the top, put in a good 5-minute power. You'll get a big gap like they've got. They've already got 11 seconds on Jen P behind them, and then Emily Watts behind them, 13 seconds. They almost hit that magical 15-second mark. 3 of them working together, they could basically make this a little team time trial. They could, I mean, they're 21 kilometers in. They've still got a wee way to go. They could stay away, though. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, that's a pretty good combination. Justine Barrow is a very experienced Zwifter. On top of that, she has that pro jersey next to her name. I don't even know what it takes to earn that, Anna. Maybe you can clarify that. But Justine Barrow is one of our best domestic riders. Has been on the podium at national championships, and unfortunately for her, has broken a few bones along the way. And Zwift has always been her comeback mechanism. So she's well schooled on Zwift, how to race and get her best out of Zwift. Katie Banerjee, I remember a couple of her rides last season were absolutely stand out in some other tours as well, not just in the WTRL. And she's certainly one to watch. Now, Lisa Jacob, I have to have a giggle, Anna, because we have a very famous cyclist in Australia, Lisa Jacobs, and everybody often gets confused about that. And I think the Australian Lisa Jacobs was getting a whole lot of text messages saying, what are you doing on Zwift? What are your young children doing if you're racing the whole time? And alas, it was not her. It was a different Lisa Jacob. But she has also started racing at an incredibly high level. And this aero crew, can I just say, they are so well drilled. I know they ride together a lot. They have some fantastic chat and discussion groups. They share a lot of tactics and strategies across the men and the women. They're not really segregated into men and women. In fact, Anna, they're very much just a team aero, and they race in different divisions. And I think that's a little bit of their secret sauce.
Yeah, I actually had a Zoom call with Tully Leister, who is the team manager or organizer of Aero. We're actually chatting about how we could bolster esport racing in the Australia and New Zealand area, get more people into it. And he suggested that before the Kiwis actually join up with Aero, and I was like, I'm not sure many Kiwis will actually race wearing a green and gold Australian kit. And that's where NZ Bro was born. So NZ Bro came out of those discussions that let's get a New Zealand esport racing team out there. And that's what we're seeing now. It'd be good to see a NZ Bro women's team in this division. Actually, we'll have to work on that for next season, because that would be some great little battles there between the Aussies and the Kiwis for sure.
Yeah, well, I'll have you know, Anna, that 95% of my wardrobe is black and white. So maybe I need to work on that. Pretty much the only part of my wardrobe that's not black and white is my lycra, to be honest. I don't know what that says about my allegiances. Now, if we go back to the chasing group, they're getting smaller groups along the way, which makes it very hard to, in fact, chase a breakaway when you are a very reduced pack in the back. Now, we are 50-50 on the rave and the aero in this group. And we've got some big names there. Clara Nash and Emily Watts are certainly the two that performed incredibly well last week. Dana Davidson, we saw her earlier on. Now, the very interesting one that we touched on earlier, Jess Hewson, she is just off the back. I think you're right, Anna, based on the bike. She's only a level 11 Zwifter, so she's pretty new to it. But how well is she doing racing in the A's here as a level 11 Zwifter? She's somebody to put a highlighter on for the future and to have a bit of a look at. Schneider, she was the one that attacked into that sprint with Davidson coming over the top. So the Rave 3 in this group are certainly pretty tenacious, but they do have some stiff opposition from some aero riders who will not chase. They have no reason to chase that breakaway, do they, Anna? They'll be getting in the way.
No, it's a horrible position to be in for Rave, because there's 3 Rave riders in there. They've got to do all the work because, like you said, Aero won't do anything. And this maybe they're kind of like the women's team from the Netherlands, and then you kind of wonder what their tactics are, and maybe they will start pushing and start chasing down their teammates up the front. Not sure, but
throwing a bit of shade on the old Dutch national team there, Anna Russell.
I've been watching my cycle racing at all hours of the night while I've had a newborn up, and
Well, you've
yeah,
been
definitely
feeding.
watching some tactics. And
It's
yeah, I'd have to say some of the tactics are questionable. So, yeah, not sure if Aero will chase, but it looks like it's Nash there from Rave who's leading it out, but very low watts. Maybe what the Aero riders could do in that chase pack is kind of just muck things up a bit. They could get on the front, slow down their watts, get on the front, slow down, get on the front, slow down. That's a way to sort of muck
mhm.
things up and get this group off the front, but they're already 45 seconds ahead. I think this is it. I think it's going to become these three, and then it's a race to see who's the fastest teammate.
Yeah, it's the non-confrontational way to do it, isn't it? Because if they just refuse to roll through, well, one, they're not getting a great workout, and two, that's quite confrontational. But just to tap through, let's take a look at the men. A much bigger field still here, Anna. Now, a reminder that we're looking at miles. So there's about 24 miles of racing in this 39 kilometres. Mark O'Brien has shot off the
Oh,
front 20 seconds. Oh my gosh. Anna,
whoa.
hold on. A second ago, he was calling himself Mark Cavendish. You're confused, Mr. O'Brien. You are not Mark Cavendish. You are certainly maybe more like a Peter Sagan on a really motivated day, going for some of those intermediate sprint points. But that's a significant gap there. You always say 15 seconds is the magic one, Anna. So what do you reckon about this? Because once they're now going hell for leather for this second and third
Yeah.
points, but I reckon they might sit up after this because that was a pretty solid effort. I mean, let's just see where this gap goes.
I think the problem with what's happening here with O'Brien is they're about to hit a big long descent with a huge pack chasing. I just can't see them not catching on to O'Brien, who's out the front. But I am surprised that he's managed to get so much. As we look at the replay here, it's Ben Hill again from Aero with Clues Proctor just coming across over the line, maybe with Mark Bostead again. He's got to shoot in some messages as how he got his sprint so good. You definitely don't need that in an Ironman triathlon,
Yeah,
which is what
no.
he races in. But looking at that, that's phenomenal, and that's another Aero rider there. So that's O'Brien first, and then 1, 2, 3 right behind. Be good to see. I think Ben Hill could be taking that leaderboard with Clues Proctor because they've got some serious fastest time segments from that first lap, and now they're getting those first across the line. So I think O'Brien he still hasn't been caught, which is surprising me. He's just a little bit up the road. I think has come down to about, I would imagine, 6 seconds there, but I thought for sure they'd catch up on that downhill. I still think they might as they get into the super tight and the huge pack advantage, although Zwift has been making some changes to the pack dynamics. So maybe that pack advantage isn't as big as I thought it would be.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because that came down very quickly. So it looked like it could have been actually a combination of him going for those points and then sitting up a little bit. But we've only got 3 seconds. 3 seconds will come back
Mm.
pretty quickly. And he may want to actually just sit off and take the pressure off there. He doesn't look to be, though. He's still going 6 watts per kg ahead of the three of the chasing pack. But just the momentum of that chasing pack is bringing them right back to his back wheel. So hopefully he can take a deep breath and grab a wheel before they zoom right past him, especially in the aero tuck. That'll make quite a bit of a dent. But that was a pretty tenacious move and the first really serious one we've seen so far.
Yeah, just looking here, Ling from E Randwick actually commentated on the Australian Cycling Club National Series over the winter here, and the Randwick Club did very well. And I do remember commentating on Ling, so bit of a danger one there for the sprint. So good to see him coming through. Also seeing, I was mentioning it before, John Story. So he's a double Olympic rower from New Zealand and has taken to Zwift in his rowing retirement. So he has joined NZ Bro as a whole bunch of other ex-professional rowers and triathletes have joined too. So it's great to see him in the ranks. I don't think he'll be there for the sprint, but he's definitely there for a bit of firepower. I think it'd be good to see him maybe have a little attack off the front. I know his mum is usually tuning in to watch these races, so maybe she can shoot him a little text message to say maybe put in a little bit of an attack. I think he might have the legs for it.
Do you know who I saw in there, Anna, is Mon Rich. Do you remember him from last season?
Yes,
Very
I do.
impressive. So I was very happy to see his name pop up and see where he can go from there. I also saw a Dylan Lindsay, but sorry, Anna, I don't think he's actually related to Sam Lindsay.
Um,
I think he'd
I
be an
think Sam's
Australian,
actually
but
up in the Prem division, but I did. We have James Barnes, who I mentioned earlier. He used to race in one of these divisions for Alien Inc. He's racing now in Prem. Actually, won the Premier Men's Division racing that was on earlier today. He's watching the stream here. A lot of his friends are in this NZ Bro team, so he might be able to pull out some picks, tell us a good strategy because he obviously knows how to race this course.
oh, look, I just love that he's Jimmy Barnes. Anna. I mean, for any Aussie Kiwi, and to our production crew, Nathan and Martin, please Google Jimmy Barnes if you don't know who it is. An absolute icon in this part of the world. So good to see that we've got the next generation's icon in James Barnes. That was a sensational ride. I love that we're seeing some really new faces and new names stepping up in that Prem division. And leading into the World Championships soon, Anna, there's an opportunity for some of our Prem riders to actually qualify for those World Championships. So that could be quite an interesting state of affairs as well.
Yeah, and I think there's actually the opportunity for community riders to come through and race as well. There's all the info has been released by Zwift. Probably head over to Zwift Insider. That's always my first go-to see all the details. But I know there's a lot of buzz in the communities. We see a picture there of Jimmy Barnes up on screen. That's the crooner from Australia, one of your national icons, I'd say, Katie.
That's got to be the most random photo that Nathan could ever find of Jimmy Barnes, but I love it and I will take it. He's I don't think he's a singer; he's a screamer more than anything. And now I've just gone down the Google rabbit, Anna, as I'm multitasking here. Our J Hunt is not Jeremy Hunt, the former pro cyclist and Olympian. It is indeed Jeffrey Hunt. Now, I believe that he is a marathon runner, an Olympian. So I'm pretty excited
Mm,
if that is him because he is absolutely killing it. And obviously, you're
wow.
probably a good person to be in a breakaway with, I would suggest, given the rest of his CV. So that's pretty cool. He's a 2:11 marathon runner. So there you go. Welcome, Jeffrey Hunt, to the
Oh,
world of Zwift.
that's quick.
And
And runners make good
what do
Zwifters.
you? They do, they really do, don't they? And some of them, I think, have a bit more fast twitch than you may initially think for a marathon runner.
I think because, I mean, I come from a bit of a running background, and I think it's because you're used to doing so much track work where you have to put in huge amounts of effort for short periods of time, have your heart rate sort of up around the 180s, and just be really suffering. And I think that's what makes Zwift racing. What makes a good Zwift racer is you can just put in huge amounts of effort, but for short periods, and then the rest of the time you're sort of sitting in the pack. So that's why I think runners do make good Zwifters. There are a few really good runners actually in the Prem women's division, ultra runners too, which you wouldn't think would be good at the sort of short, sharp efforts. But yeah, obviously they've got a big enough base for that. As we're seeing now, the segment points there. So I did wonder if Partridge Madsen would be taking out those points. 76. That is massive. So he's obviously got huge amounts of fastest time segments there and first across line, as well as Ben Hill coming through with 56. And then quite a bit further behind will be Clues Proctor with 31, but all from Team Aero.
That is tactics right there from Partridge Madsen because he hasn't been taking out all of those first across line. In fact, it's been Clues Proctor and Hill are the names that we've been repeating as they go through that segment. So he's obviously timing it really well, perhaps to use the draft of the bunch to actually slingshot himself to those fastest through segments. So I actually really like when we see those people who are getting a little bit creative with how to get the points rather than uh, probably the more visible way, which is to go through and get those first across line. They are coming through now again for a sprint. The giveaway there is all of those power ups being dropped. It's only 130 meters, and that's why we're seeing the
Mm.
mana hit out before they actually hit that sprint line.
Yeah, they're doing some very early lead outs as we see Clues Proctor take it again with it looks like Velo there just behind him. That was a very sort of muddled up sprint. Everyone went at a very similar time. Someone's dropped their power up way too late. It's actually still running there as they've passed the sprint finish line. But yeah, that was I think there's some tired legs out there. There wasn't sort of the big win like we saw in the first couple of laps. That was a bit of a group effort and yeah, a lot of the power through the pack. I'm just having a look through Zwift power stats here to see who we could be looking at as we are approaching the second sprint on this lap 3 and then coming into the finish, which is about a kilometre or so after that last sprint. But I'm looking here at John Story, the New Zealand rower, Olympic rower, who I thought wouldn't have a sprint, has actually got a 14.1 watt per kg 15 second, which is very, very decent. Torben Partridge Madsen, he's got 15.1 watts a kg. Very, very fast there. We've seen that on show already. These are the kind of riders I'd be looking out for. And also Richard Law from Alien Inc. So I haven't seen much of him. You can see that kit there just in the foreground, that big green alien on the back. Another person to look out for as we're approaching the final stages of this race.
Well, I'm just looking down the names in this race, Anna. We've got an Olympic, we've got triathletes, we've got Olympic runners, we've got rowers. Michael Gallagher, I've just double checked, it is the Michael Gallagher for Australians. He's a paracyclist. He was a C5 world record holder in the 4 kilometres and 10 times world champion. So Mick Gallagher certainly has a CV to make anybody's knees shake. Look at this. Mark O'Brien's gone for it again for this early sprint through the village. He times this perfectly every time he does this. He's on the march again. Let's see. Now, he got up to about 20 seconds gap before. He's now pushing out pretty quickly, actually, Anna, to this 4 or 5 seconds. But the timing wasn't brilliant last time, insofar as a lot of effort for him to come back very quickly. What are you thinking about this one?
I mean, it's a good place to go. It looks like he countered over that sprint and then really went for it on that uphill sort of drag. This drag will keep going. I'm sort of he's got a 20-minute power of 6.2, which is higher than almost everyone other than Sam Hill, which is a teammate of his. So Sam Hill, hopefully, I would say, is not doing any work on the front. Looks like, yep, you've got the alien rider there. I don't think Aero should be doing any work. They're going to be forcing NZ Bro to be doing something. But it's good because it's going to force others to work and tire themselves out, unless people just don't really care if he gets the win. But I think these people are
Mm.
competitive. They're not going to want to let him get away. He's running the risk though. He could have been trialing it last lap to just see how much effort he had to put in before they got away. But I do actually think he's just trying to draw out attacks and tire the legs of the riders behind. I don't think this is an attack for the line.
I genuinely don't think there is a single rider out there who wouldn't care that somebody else is off the front for a win. But in saying that, it doesn't mean they can do anything about it. It also doesn't mean it's smart to do anything about it, given the balance of teams in this and also the different ways to make points. So this lead is starting to move out. 10 seconds now, 15 seconds, you reckon, is magic. But we got to 20 before, and that certainly came back very, very quickly. So let's see how he fares here as the road turns somewhat upwards. And also a shout out to the alien team, because I love it when you can just say the alien is on the move. Anna, that's been one of my favourite calls tonight. So I am impressed when they give us a little bit of fun as well to have with their team names.
We've just actually had James Barnes, the winner of the men's Prem race, coming into the chat. He's saying that he'd like to see a Hail Mary attack off the last sprint for the line. So we'll see if anyone is brave enough to do that. We're almost halfway between the sprint we just saw and the sprint coming up, halfway up this little drag climb. We're not seeing anyone chase down O'Brien, who might start extending this. Looks like he's pretty good on the uphills. He's a pretty light rider. But I do think I'm going to call it. I do think he might get caught just as people go for the sprint and then hit that long downhill. But 15 seconds now, I do say that's the magic number. So he's doing a good job. If this keeps extending, maybe people just aren't that motivated and they're just going to end up racing for second. Now, really important question here, Kate, is the map backwards cap. I'm still 50-50 on this. I just
Mhm.
can't quite decide if I like it or not. Um,
Really?
I'm really
Oh,
tending towards not. Um, what are
wow.
your
You
thoughts?
went off and had a baby and all of a sudden you changed your fashion sense. I would have thought, Anna, you would love the matte backwards cap. In fact, I thought you'd be absolutely cheering for anybody who has it. I think it's kind of funky, I've got to say, but I will say it doesn't quite match the color scheme, does it, Anna?
No,
And I
that's
know
it.
that
I
you're
think,
all for color
yeah.
schemes.
I think it's the non-matching. I think if we can see a kit that matches that kind of pink, if people actually wore the off the map kit, I think it looks rad. I think it looks
Mm.
fantastic. It matches. It's perfect. I know one of my teammates is wearing this cap, and it's just a bit too much noise there with the beautiful clean Tron that matches the Aero kit, and just with the pink hat just doesn't quite match. But I'll stay with my 50-50 call. As we're seeing an attack here now from the group, from Pesky there, from World Elite Zwifters from France. Riding up at 5.3 watts a kg, that's not enough. Actually, looks like Gallagher there, riding up at 6.7, 6.3. It's just not enough. If you want to attack and catch that rider in the front who's riding along at, about 6.67, you've got to go way faster than this. This pack will just draw that back. You've almost got to sprint out of the pack and then settle into that sort of 6.5 watt per kg. But you can't just roll off the front at that. As you can see, they're just going to jump back onto his wheel.
Well, this actually plays into the hands of Mark O'Brien because the on again, off again that sometimes happens with these attacks that don't last for too long can actually really slow down the overall effort of that chase. In saying that, it's not going out at a very rapid rate, it's been lingering around that 15-second mark, Anna. So I have a feeling that what you said about coming back together in the village is possibly on the cards. Now, I do really like the suggestion from Jimmy Barnes. Sorry, James. I hope you like being called Jimmy because that's your name in here now. And you'd also be pleased to know, Anna, that we have another M dot in the women's, but that's for another day. Is that I think a Hail Mary attack could be really, really entertaining and very likely
Mm.
successful as well. We do have a number of riders who could do that if they do catch them unawares a little bit, not least Ben Hill. He does have a little bit of a target on his back, but physiologically, he's very well suited to do that. Nick Squilari, who's in there, I think, en velo kick. He's an exceptionally good time trialist. He would be another one that is capable of doing that. And the other rider, now I don't know all of the riders, of course, as they're coming up through this sprint here. So this will show us a little bit what that time gap is going to do with Mark O'Brien. And here's the moment. Is someone going over
Oh,
the top? It looks
yeah.
like it, or was that just an
Oh, but they
ill-timed
pulled
power
back.
up drop?
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
they
was
just had
the
a mistimed power
moment.
up. I thought they were countering. I thought that was perfect. Can't actually, just looks like Jay Hunt there from WMZ is countering over that sprint, 7 seconds behind now. You can see them in the distance. And the problem with Mark O'Brien, is he is a lighter rider, and he's got Brian Dev there chasing down almost 10 kg heavier on a downhill. 5 seconds now with Gallagher there also catching up. Oh, this is going to come right down to it. This is getting very, very touch and go. Unfortunately for Mark O'Brien, he might just be a little bit too light for these guys not to catch him, but he's still running up at that 6.6 watts a kg. Costa there now from NZ Bro, Frodo coming through with Gallagher. These guys are hitting the super tucks, and look at that lead, 4 seconds. They're going to catch him. That is phenomenal.
Well, according to my maths, it's 24.38 miles. So that's what we're looking at. They are not too far off that now, but this gap, 2 seconds now, just that tiny
Oh,
bit too late for Mark O'Brien from the looks of it. But they are having to properly chase. Sam Hill is sitting in the plum position in second or third wheel, hovering around there, waiting for that catch. It's happened. Mark O'Brien is absorbed back into the pack. The lead out is starting, Anna, and they are certainly not waiting around for a cat and mouse. The speed is very high.
oh. Look at all those power ups being dropped. Now, I think that the best place to actually go here and drop the power up is this bridge because I think you will slightly slow down. The pack will slightly slow down. You could kick off the front. Look at that rider for the front. Law there from Alien Inc. Absolutely smashing it. That was an amazingly timed sprint. That was phenomenal. I hope we get to see the replay there because that was unreal. He came from nowhere. We haven't seen him all race long and he takes it out for the win. Very, very awesome job there.
That well, I'd love to see the replay on that one. That all came about very quickly, didn't it? People had to jostle and reposition after they did catch Mark O'Brien. Perfectly executed though from Aero, and you can't help but think maybe Anna that they actually set that up, understanding that O'Brien would likely get caught, but that it set his teammates up perfectly to be able to sit in the pack and not have to do a lot of work, to be able to look around and say responsibility is on you.
Look at that. So where is he? You can just see there that green Tron. I think that's him, Richard Law, who we did mention earlier in the broadcast with huge 15-second watts. Look at that. He's already in the massive head down sprint position coming through all those Aero riders and John Story there from NZ Bro. Look at that. Look, he's kicked on that bridge. I do think a tip is that bridge slows people down just slightly. Kick there and you might be able to get past. And that is exactly what he's done. Huge watts there coming from Richard Law, around the 15 watts a kg. And he just made it across. He got that jump. There we go. I think that bridge will play a key part in the races coming up.
That was just a ripping acceleration from Richard Law as well. And it looks to me like Zwift have gotten a bit of inspo from Caleb Ewan with the way the positioning that they've got the sprinters in there right over those handlebars. So we're back to the women now. Wow, things have changed, Anna. My goodness. We have now got Emily Watts and Clara Nash.
Oh,
And oh, apologies. We've just had the finish. We are now back with this second bunch that are now racing for that next position for fourth. So Emily Watts and Clara Nash are the two fastest sprinters amongst this group. Now, Meredith Clark is there, Anna, which is interesting, isn't it? Because she was the one that was kind of sitting at the back of the bunch before, and we wondered if she was struggling a bit, but perhaps a little bit more about positioning given how far she's been able to move up here. This will come down to a bit of a ding-dong battle for the sprint between Watts and Nash. They are the two that I would certainly put my highlighter most on, but they are still 3 and 3, so 50-50 here. How much will they work as a team? That is the question leading in here. It's all about timing, as we just saw, Anna.
Mm. Yeah, and I've just seen the results that Kate Banerjee took it out over Justine Barrow and Lisa Jacobs. So Justine in second and Lisa Jacob in third. So this is the race for the minor positions, so fourth downwards. But yeah, 3 Rave, 3 Aero here. Looking at the bike choice, I think Jen P there on the front, she's got a huge advantage just with that setup that she's got, the disc wheel and the momentum coming off this downhill. It'll be interesting to see what happens that we just saw in the men's race, whether if anyone kicks on that bridge, if they start dropping those power ups right there, no one's dropped anything yet. They're leaving it very late. There we go. Opening up from Nash. Emily Watts just in behind her. Schneider pulling out those orange numbers too. Looks like Emily Watts, your woman, taking out with the Aero power up. Looks like Kate Nash in second and Smith there, Aline Smith. Coming in third, just from a little eyesight view there, could have come in a little bit differently between those fifth and sixth places because that was very tight. But Emily Watts, wow, she's got the sprint. So that was the women's race there. That was for fourth place, actually. Like I said, Katie Banerjee, Justine Barrow, and Lisa Jacob took out first, second, third with a huge solo. Well, I don't want to say solo, actually, a huge team attack. A tactic that I have never actually thought of. They did that on lap 2 up that little climb after the first sprint, managed to get away very quickly, got a minute, and then pulled in with their teammates taking out fourth and fifth, I do think. So very impressive there from Team Aero again. Rave there doing well to stick with it. and be in that chasing pack. It was 3-on-3, but they just didn't quite have the firepower at the end to take on Team Aero. But very, very interesting racing. A lot different to what I thought it would be. I think everyone was feeling pretty brave on this new course, which was great. And looking here at the finish, Richard Law, first for Ink Alien Battlers. He had a great sprint there. Mark Bostedt, the triathlete who can now sprint, was in second. Ben Hill in third. Torben Partridge Madsen in fourth. Sam Hill in fifth. Braden Clues Proctor in sixth. Tomoki Mikami from ZWC in seventh. Jeffrey Hunt from WMZ All-Stars in 8th, Dylan Lindsay from Aero in 9th, and Nicholas Squilari from Aero as well in 10th.
Mark Bostedt shall forever be known as the triathlete who can now sprint. We'll just name him that. We've got we'll have the women's results as soon as we can, and have a couple of these flow through. Now, any results that we aren't able to get up to you tonight, they will be online soon. So you've just got to head over to WTRL to take a look at that. So as these results do feed through, Anna, that was a pretty sensational week 3 of the league. Now let's take a look at the women. Katie Banerjee, what a legend she is from Aero. She wins ahead of her teammate Justine Barrow, Lisa Jacob in third, Emily Watts taking fourth, but nearly 2 minutes down. So it looks like those leading three really took it away. Eileen Smith coming in fifth, Clara Nash in sixth, Dana Davidson in seventh, Sarah Schneider in eighth. Now, Davidson and Schneider were, of course, the ones that lit up that first sprint on that first lap, so good on them. For Rave, Jenny Petnan in ninth, and Brie Plale rounding out that top 10. Geez, there's some fireworks in those women's racing in these first couple of weeks, Anna. And of course, we head to France next week, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah. I just called out Kate Banerjee's watts per kg. There were 4.5 for that race. That was amazing. Looking here now at the men's, Jeff Morton, WMZ Bees, took it out with Jason Tran, also from the Bees in second, Ed Gray from Dirty Sprockets in third, with Michael Templeton, also from the Sprockets in fourth, Adrian Flay from HDR Barracudas in fifth, Ian Maynick in sixth, Stephen Hands from NZ Bro, J.R.R. Tolkien, author of Lord of the Rings, in seventh, Brent Gibson in eighth, Bryce Markart in ninth from Z Sundries, and Michael Pepper from HDR Barracudas in 10th.
Some fast racing throughout tonight. So let's take a look now at the next one at sea. We've got Renan Viola took out the win there ahead of Andrew Atkinson, Jason Wheeling in third for Aero Bix, Stephen Nowicki for Evo Suns, Jason Rock in fifth for the Commodores, Stephen Winfield in sixth from the WMZ Chasers. Also from the Chasers in seventh, we've got Darren Lee. Hughes in eighth for the Chargers. Robert Jen in ninth for Cryogen LT'd. And for TBR 46.5, we've got Alex Murphy.
And looking here, we've got in first place, Steele Sutton. That's a great name. HDR Diesels. Anthony Craig from the Drop Bears in second. You're going to have to tell me about the Drop Bears next time. Brendan Clark in third. James Salafia in fourth from the Dodgers. Chris Smith from the Sicklo Killers in fifth. Scott Macon in sixth. Sean Hegney in seventh. Andrew Finneran in eighth. Ryan Spiteri in ninth. And Justin Beach from the WMZ Dodgers in 10th.
Well, if that is the Steele Sutton, he is a coach up in Moree, which is in northern New South Wales, and has some very famous family riders, including my former coach, Gary Sutton. So if that is you, Steele, welcome and great to have you. Let's take a look over here at the women. We've got Miranda Bennett from the Bam Babes taking the win ahead of Lam Kong. That is a very familiar name from last season, Anna, from the Bullets in second. Siobhan Aerosmith in third for TBR Smilon. Michelle Bond in fourth for the Bullets. Holly Diop for TBR Smilon in fifth. Emily Parks in sixth for the Bombshells. Kylie Adair in seventh for the Bam Babes. Natasha Williams in eighth for TBR Smilon. Vicky Vanden Bigelaar she is in 9th for the Bombshells. And in 10th, we've got Kate Braderick for the AHDRL Bullet.
Oh, I know that first name. You probably know it too, I guess, Kate, is number 1, Tanya Lordner from the Aero Stingers. Second, Rebecca Wysack from also the Aero Stingers. Third, Tennille Irish from Raven Mad, great team name. Fourth, Pete B from Tune Bikeworks, Chicks and Knits. Fifth, Danielle Blake from the HDRL Caramellos. Alex Hailstone from the Stingers. Kerry Nola from Tune Bikeworks. Melissa Fung from HDRL Caramellos. Anna Sikonani from Tune Bikeworks, and Sharon J. Boyd from Raven Mad in 10th.
Yeah, well, Rebecca Wysack in second there. Anna, she is a former World Individual Pursuit champion, so pretty excited to have her back. She's got a young daughter, so both she and her husband Ben Hill, it's fantastic to have them on the bike. And amongst the results, I have a feeling that Beck might not last too long in the seas, to be honest, if she's able to spend much time on the bike. Now, take a look at the Ds. Andrea Robinson taking the win for the Dynamos ahead of Amanda Graham in second for the Diamonds. Kiralee Carberry for Zed's Sun Kissed. Amanda Francis in fourth for Zed's Sun Kissed. In fifth, we've got Rachel Hooker for the Diamontes. In sixth, we've got Emma Neems for the Diamontes. In seventh, Tanya Cayley for the Raven Divas. In eighth, Heather Brooks for the Raven Divas. In ninth, Justine Lay from the Daiquiris. We'll go a daiquiri. In 10th, we've got Joanne Lees for the Raven Divas. Across the board, there's been some pretty tight racing. The top 6 there in the Ds is very tight, so they've had a good evening out on course. 39 kilometres, one of the longer days they will have. But Anna, next week we're headed to France for the Caspats. It is ostensibly quite a flat race and one for the sprinters. Alas, it is also a good course for breakaways.
Yeah, I mean, it's English translation is the leg breaker, I think. So it's one of my favorite courses, actually. You've got 2 KOMs as well as 2 sprints. So yeah, it's one for the tactics for sure. And that KOM is actually really, really tricky. The petite KOM goes into a big downhill to the finish line. So yeah, a plethora of tactics they could have. I'm excited to see the racing over the next day because this course, I think because it's new, people are just doing some crazy stuff out there, which is awesome. I love it. I love commentating on that.
It is. And it's great to have you back, Anna, and especially when you say things like it's your favourite course and that it's called the leg breaker. I think that just kind of sums you up. But it's been fantastic to have you back. Thank you, everybody, for your wonderful comments and engagement on social media. Keep it coming. Good luck to everybody who's still to race and is using this as a little bit of a preview. And I will see you tomorrow for America's West with Dave Towle. And Anna, we will be back same time, same place next week.
See you then.